So, hey guys, Chauzu here. So today we finally got the official reveal of Gear 5 in One Piece Treasure Cruise. He's going to be accompanied by legend Momo. Finally it happens. So in this video we're going to go through the PvE kits of both Luffy and Momo, and then once we get the full download I'm going to go through them one by one, look at potential partners, strategies to use, and also the PvP kit. And if you want to see the PvP kit, just check the Twitter. Anyway, let's jump into it. Maybe we should start with Momo. Why not? Momo is Psy Free Spirit Slasher, has a super tandem, has a super type. He also has a crit, which usually isn't that noteworthy, but we've got some data mines suggesting that crit is getting some kind of buff. Probably not this batch, but maybe a future batch this celebration. The Luffy also has crits, so it feels like they are future-proofing them in some way. Not much else to say. Excited to see what the first Momo Legend does. I am actually pretty hyped by him. He looks really good. Special reduces one enemy's HP by 10%. This 300 times carries attack inside damage to all enemies at the end of turn for 10 turns. Reduces attack down by 7 turns. Reduces damage reduction by 7 turns. Cypher Spirit and Slasher characters get a 2.5 times attack boost for 4 turns. Changes his own slot to Wano and locks his own slot for 1 turn. All of that is really cool, not going to lie, but it gets even cooler when we read the captain ability. His captain ability boosts Free Spirit and Slasher characters attack by 5.25 times and HP by 1.35 times. -2 CD in Captain, that's always appreciated. He also launches his special at the start of the quest, and if Momo has a 1 orb, which he gets automatically when using his special, you will extend the duration of attack boost on crew by 1 turn. We'll talk more about that in a bit. If crew is afflicted with bind status from a special launched by the crew or by an enemy action, converts that effect to extends the duration of attack boost on crew by 1 turn, regardless of the effective turns of the converted effect. So basically, if the enemy tries to put bind on you, you are immune to it. So this is basically a long way around to saying that Momo is fully immune to bind, and that means he's the first unit fully immune to bind in the game, I think. But if they try to put bind on you, that is changed to extend the duration of attack boost by 1 turn, basically. And he's also an experienced captain, 2.25 times. That's actually pretty high. I wonder how that compares to Marco, actually. That's pretty nice bonus. We'll talk about this attack extension thing once we go through the full kit, because there's more to it in a bit. Free Spirit and Slashers gets base stats boost as a sailor. This is another thing that is great with Momo, the support. This is an amazing support for Luffy Yamato. Basically, if you use that special to boost attacks, sadly a little bit specific. Well, been great if it was just using a special, but whatever. Changes supporter carrier's attack slot carrier's own type and reduces all enemies' HP by 3% at the end of turn for 1 turn. So basically, any Luffy Yamato that does an attack boost can now bypass resilience with a support. That's amazing. I'm super happy to get more resilience bypassing support with end of turn damage. We also have the super tandem. Unit 2 of Luffy, Yamato, Scabbard, Oden, Tokihiri, so makes sense. When you use it, you apply an attack boost, tandem of 2.25 times to Free Spirit and Slasher, and make type slots and matching slot effects for 1 turn. So not as strong as some of the most recent Super Tandem on Strong Legends, but it's still very good. This is definitely a usable one, even if it's not like the first option you want in like Super Boss or such. Super Type, same condition as Super Tandem. Changes crew's block and type slots to Wano. Extends the duration of crew's attack boost by 2 turns and changes Psy character to Super Psy. And yeah, I'm just stoked by all the fun you can have with Momo. Like, let's go from the beginning here. Okay, so Captain ability will automatically launch the special. The special does 4 turns attack boost and also changes Momo slots to Wano. So if you tap with Momo, you get 5 turns. You lock that 1 orb, so you can tap again. That means 6 turns. Then you can use the Super Type that turns it into 8 turns. Then, considering Momo is -2 CD, and special is 13, which is reasonable. Free spirits you can even put like Mr. Tree. You can realistically like just use Momo special again by the time the attack boost runs out. And I forgot to mention that the Super Type also gives you Wano back, so that becomes basically 9 turns. So potentially you don't even need to use Momo special after, you just keep the attack boost to the end in like Arena and such. And I think it's an amazing gimmick, and the special itself also has good utility for later. And of course, as Captain ability with the special, you also get that end of turn damage. You can bypass resilience, and 300 times his attack is still very good damage. So you actually have no issues with this unit. The question is he limited or not? Probably a normal legend, because his GP kit is apparently not added, while Luffy got a Grand Party kit. And usually Super Sugos get a better Super Tandem, I'd say, nowadays. So probably a normal legend, but we will see. I definitely want him though, he looks very fun to use. With that said, let's go into the main character, I guess you can say. We got Gear 5 here. We've already had the art reveals, that's no surprise. And the color and classes and EX like this was very easy to predict due to PvP buffs, PvP final buffs, or Psy, Free Spirit, Fighter, and Slasher. And we knew Luffy wouldn't be Slasher, so it was very easy to guess what Luffy will be. And he also has an EX, which is very unsurprising. I will say already, we don't really know if Luffy can use his EX as sub. I'd presume yes, but there's nothing here that outright states it, so we just have to try it on release, I guess, unless we get some clarification from Bandai. But yeah, he does have Rush, and his CD is 15, which is pretty high. Basically, we can start with the special, why not? First up, pretty good news. 2 million damage to one enemy, ignoring all defensive effects, including normal attacks only. This is the strongest normal attack only nuke so far. And it might be like whatever, like Roger does what, 1.5 million, Gear 5 does 2 million, who cares? But the thing is that treasure map mini bosses usually are just below 2 million HP, so with Luffy you can just one-hit KO them, depending on the team. And this is a strat that some people use, especially high farmers, that they have at least one boss they only face on map. Just to speed it up, it's usually the most annoying boss, so Luffy is going to be a game changer for treasure map just because of that. But let's continue. Boost the type effects of normal attacks of Psy Free Spirit characters by 3 times for 1 turn. I think it's pretty funny that they finally used this in specials. Like, we've had it for like supports that you need to be both a color and a class. Now we have it in specials, and I think it's interesting to team building. I think they do a good approach here, where if you are both the color and the class, you get a bigger buff. But if you are one or the other, you still get a good buff. I think that's the right way to go. So I think that's cool. So Psy Free Spirit gets a 3 times call affinity, and if you're a Psy or Free Spirit, you get 2.75 times call affinity. Changes crew slots, including block slots to Psy. And if you launch this special when character is in Gear 5, which already implies that Luffy can also not be Gear 5. Boost Psy Free Spirit character slot effects by 3.25 times for 1 turn. And if you are a Psy or Free Spirit character, you get 2.75 times or boost. And you also reduce every beneficial effect on enemy by 1 turn. This is basically the same as Blackbeard Legend, V2 Blackbeard. And this also means that this Luffy can remove 1 turn of damage limiter, which is going to be a big gimmick now, especially as Legend Frankie has lost that ability. So if you run double Luffy and use both specials, you can remove 2 turns of damage limiter, for example, which might see some realistic use. And yeah, in terms of special, like it's strong, you get good buffs, but you see here that even if Free Spirit is boosted, it does feel like Luffy is mainly going to be built around being on a mono side team, preferably with Free Spirit, and facing int bosses really. But let's go into the captain. And Luffy can be 2 forms, and the captain ability changes depending on which form you are in. In the normal form, you will be able to revive from game over 1 time per quest, and after you revive, you become Gear 5. And when you're in your normal form, Saiyan Free Spirit gets a 1.2 times HP boost, 5.5 times attack. All other characters get a 4.5 times attack boost. You have 20% damage reduction. You boost chance of landing on Psy recovery orbs. You make them matching. You can heal with recovery orbs when hitting perfect. And you resist special leave, reverse, and bind by 10 turns. So that's obviously very strong. Just try and imagine Legend Brook, but Legend Brook also is immune to bind and special levers. Yeah, like that's very strong. The only sad thing about this is that Brook loses a lot of his gimmicks. I feel bad for the Brook fans. Like, Brook might still see some potential meme usage, but really, why not just use Luffy from now on? Thankfully, Brook is pretty good as a sub as well with his special nowadays, after level limit break. In Gear 5 though, you add the ability to ignore enemies' defensive effects, but cancels all crew's defensive effects. So this is the classic how it works, like if you use V2 Cat and Dog or V1 Blackbeard, something like that. You get the benefit of ignoring defensive effects, but you can't avoid them yourself. You can't put damage threshold to survive an attack, it gets ignored. Now, Saiyan Free Spirit characters get a 6 times attack boost instead. Other characters get a 5 times attack boost. You cut crew's HP by 10% at the end of turn, so without Gear 5 you heal. With it you lose HP, which is basically a reference to the fact that Gear 5 is a big strain on the user. And other than that, it's the same. So you just get an attack boost, you get the ability to ignore defensive effects. So yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. I will return to this in a bit. There is one more piece of info we need to get the full context of this unit, I feel like. Crewmate ability, 150 base stats, that's very high. Psy recovery matching. Support, 15% attack for any Psy Free Spirit. Yeah, that's very high. That's like one of the highest attack boosts you can add. And yeah, it's pretty interesting with the rush. Basically, at final battle, if character is in Gear 5 or performs the 6th tap of an attack. So basically, if you enter final stage and don't have Gear 5 yet, you can still get the rush, but then it works like a final tap, so only Luffy gets the benefit. But if you are in Gear 5, you can use it at any tap you want. And this is very strong because Like when you tap first, you don't really get the full effect of everything, but now you can try and build up the chain a little bit more before using the Rush Sugo. And it just adds a lot more freedom. Like imagine you build a team around Rush Super Tandem for Kizuna. One very annoying thing when using Sanji is the fact that you have to start with Sanji, and then you want to continue building the Super Tandem because, of course, Mugis are part of the Super Tandem. But this also means that it's very hard to fit non-Mugis in the team, especially if they don't do a lot of damage and you just want a utility. Because then if you start with Sanji and then use the non-Straw Hat, you basically break the Super Tandem chain and have to start from the beginning. But with this, we can start tapping with any unit we want, and then we can hit it with the Gear 5 Rush. So that's will be a lot better for team building with Rush. Other than that, like, it looks strong. And it looks like this is a Rainbow Rush, like Sanji was just Strength X Quick, so yeah, that's going to be very useful. Like the way I read it, you can use this Luffy on like, say, versus Kaido team with like all of the headliners and stuff like that, and you can still use this Luffy just for the rush by the looks of it, and you get to benefit from it. So this alone makes Luffy very worth investing in for the future, for sure. EX Super, also very interesting. You need 3 specific units on the team. And a Straw Hat or Jim or Yamato or Law or Kid or Momo, so makes sense. And this does some very strong effects. First, it changes the attack multiplier of Psy Recovery to 3 times with matching orbs. This makes it a lot stronger than 1 orbs. Like this is the strongest attack multiplier of orbs so far, so that's absolutely insane. And it also changes Luffy to Gear 5. And Free Spirit characters become Super Free Spirit, and Psy characters become Super Psy. Like, yeah, this is very cool. Like, up until this point, I was overall pretty meh to the units. Like, can't deny that it's strong, but not very interesting. But this does make it a lot more interesting, both in like Kizuna and in normal content. But the main thing I want to talk about here is the fact that he can turn into Gear 5 anytime you want. So this basically means that turn 1, you can use the EX Super, you get all of the super stat boosts and stuff like that. But you also get the ability to ignore defensive effects. You don't need to die to get that ability. Will have really sucked otherwise. Now, you just need to try and build a mono straw team, which honestly is not that hard nowadays, really. But another fun thing, like if you go back and look at the captain ability, the way it's read is that the game over resistance is only when you are not in Gear 5. So when you use the EX special, you lose the ability to survive game over. But if you do 2 Gear 5 Luffy, and 1 uses the EX special to become Gear 5, this means that you have the ability to revive from game over with 1 Luffy, and the other one gives you the ability to ignore defensive effects. So this is like the best of 2 worlds, because one of the main issues with the captain ability to ignore defensive effects is that it's very easy to die, it's very easy to struggle with stations that do a lot of damage, but now you can just ignore that, and as a bonus, the other Luffy also becomes Gear 5 and gives you an even stronger captain ability and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to have a lot of fun playing around with that specific gimmick, and that's going to be a gimmick that will be good for a long time. The main issue with this gimmick is that a lot of the time, the reason you even go with these units that ignore defensive effects is that they are also some of the best speedrun captains, like Cat, Dog, Carrot, stuff like that. And this Luffy will not be that. He has no C reduction in his captain, and his special is 15 CD, so yeah, realistically, if you try and speedrun, you won't be able to use Luffy's captain ability at all. And if you want to make use of that EX Super, you also need to have 3 Mugis of your 4 subs, basically, which will be hard to build proper teams for. So it feels bad to say, but it does feel like using this Luffy for like normal content is most going to be a meme. But for like Super Boss Kizuna and stuff, he's going to be amazing. Like on any team for the rush and against Int in particular, going to be really good. So overall, Momo looks absolutely amazing, super happy with that. Luffy looks strong, has some cool effects. I wish they got a bit more creative with him, but it is what it is. And yeah, I think I'll stop there for now. I will revisit both Luffy and Momo in the coming days. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.